All right, so take a moment, compare the answers you can see to the answers that are on the screen. And if there's one in particular that you're like, I think I really want Mrs. Leonard to go over that one, then let me know. All right, are there any in what you can see right now that you're like, I'm hoping you're going to go over that one? Or are we good? Good? Want to look at the next section of answers? Okay. And remember, if there's something you didn't get to, all of these things are in OneNote, so you can always check more of them later, okay? Let's put the middle group up. So I think 10, 14, 17, 20 might be within what you needed to work on. So make a note of the answers. Think about, is there one in particular that you would want me to go over? Tony, which one are you hoping? 17, probably. So I will circle that one, and I'll come back after we've shown all the answers, okay? Because I got to go back to where I can see the problems. All right, so just record your answers on that. Hey, Molly, can I see your work so I can give you credit? Sorry, I gave your seat away, hon. There weren't a lot of people here, so I like moved people up. Here you go, dear. All right, and then here's the last bunch of, oh, actually, it's really laid out awkwardly. So I think you can see like 11 and 18 there, but I'm going to have to scroll over one more time for you to see like 12 and 15. All right, any in what you can see there? 18, I'll circle it and we'll take a look. I'm going to have to go look at the problems because a couple of these, I was doing them with a class yesterday and I was like, I don't really love that problem. So if it's one that I'm like, I'm never going to ask you to do something like that again, we'll just skip it for today because I want to make sure we can get our mastery check in today. And ideally a little bit of notes, we'll see. I'm not sure we're going to get everything. We're going to do a mastery check on this stuff that we've been doing this week, try to wrap that up before the week is over. All right, and then there's 12 and 15. If I can get the mastery check in the same week that we've been working on it, I kind of like to do it because it's like freshest in your mind that way, get the first try. Because we can always do more tries later, but if I feel like, we seem like we should be ready. Like I almost gave it to period. Oh, I didn't see period 2 yesterday, did I? It must have been Wednesday. It must have been you guys that I almost gave it to you yesterday. Oh no, yeah, you're period 2. Yeah, period 3. I almost gave it to period 3 yesterday. Sorry, Tony, my brain's gone to mush. I'm tired. All right, so we're thinking maybe 17 and 18 we want to talk about. Let's go look at them. So if I go back into lesson 4 and we go to the daily practice, look at 17 and 18. Let me erase that stuff out of there. So 17. I don't think I've done this one recently, so let's just jump in, okay? I don't know if it's going to turn out ugly or not because I don't think period 3 asked me to go over this one. So the first thing I notice is those things all seem to be divisible by 5. Does everybody notice that? Yeah, everything seems to be divisible by 5. And I also see an M in everything. So I think a 5 and an M could come out with the big brackets. Oops, 5 and M. So if I look at that, 125 divided by 5 should be 25. So 25 MN. And then negative 30 MP should be 6P. And the next thing should be 10M. And the last thing, 75 divided by 5. So it's going to be 10 and 15 PN. Are we okay with what's happened so far? Yeah, we just took a big GCF out of everything. And then we'll look to do it like a normal problem. So we'll put parentheses. Remember, when there's a minus, I've got to add a plus sign and make sure that the negative goes with the 10. Everybody good? All right. And I do like the 2 problems. So I'm a little worried about the 25 and the 6. I'm wondering if switching the order of those 2 middle terms might be a good plan. So I'm just going to tell you what I'm thinking. This is not a step I would ever expect you to be able to do. Just going to say that right now, okay? I would not expect you to be able to do this step that I'm about to do. So when I looked at 25 and 6, do they have any numbers in common? They don't, do they? But if these two terms were in an opposite order, the 6 and the 15 do have some numbers in common. And the 10 and the 25 do have some numbers in common. So I think this problem would be easier if we swap the order, okay? And that's what makes this problem what I would really consider more of an Algebra 2 problem than an Algebra 1 problem. So if you found this one challenging, I think that's fair. Everybody good? Yeah? So I'm going to rewrite it. And as I said, I would not expect you to reproduce this on a test or like a mastery check or a show what you know or a midterm or a final kind of thing. I wouldn't expect you to be able to do this. I wouldn't expect you to notice this. And I'm pretty sure there's another little thing that's going to come up at the end of the problem that I definitely would not expect you to notice. Okay, but does everybody see what I did? Yeah? And you see why I did it, right? I'm like, it seems like it would go better this way. And this is like I've been factoring forever, so I have an instinct about these things. You guys have not been factoring forever, so you don't have the same instincts I do, which is why I wouldn't expect it of you. All right, so we're going to do those two side problems. We've got 25mn and negative 10m, and I see that those have a 5 and an m in common. And they leave behind a 5n and a negative 2. So when I go to factor that, I'm going to pull out the 5m that they have in common, and we're going to leave a 5n minus 2 behind. Are we okay with that? Yes? All right. And then we have a negative 6p and a 15pn. And I do hope that you remember that I said if there's a negative on the first terms in a pair, I want you to pull that negative. So I'm going to pull a negative 3 instead of a positive 3. And I'm going to pull a p because they have those in common. So I'm going to have a 2 left for the top, and I'm going to have a negative 5n for the bottom. Okay? Because if I pull a negative out with the 3, I have to leave a negative behind so that two negatives can make a positive. So I'm going to have negative 3p times 2 minus 5n. And here comes the thing that is definitely an Algebra 2 thing and not an Algebra 1 thing. 5n minus 2 and 2 minus 5n, those are not the same. Do you all agree? But there's a sneaky little rule that I teach my Algebra 2 kids, which says if I factor out a negative, so if I make this piece, if I take 2n minus 5 and I put a negative in front of it, it becomes 5n minus 2. It lets me flip that order around. And I would not expect any Algebra 1 kid to know that. Did I mention it yesterday? Okay. So I'm glad that we're mentioning it, but I don't expect a kid to master that until Algebra 2. Okay? That would change that sign in the middle. So this would become plus 3p, and I would have 5n minus 2, which then gives me that big GCF. So that allows me to finish the problem. So the final answer for this one would be the 5m that was off on its own, the 5n minus 2 that they now have in common, and the 5m minus 3p. And I suspect that 18 has that similar trick to it. So I'm not going to go over 18 because I think it's going to be really similar to 17. Everybody all right? Yeah? Okay. So just, we call that above your pay grade, right? That's like too much to expect of any level of Algebra 1 student. Everybody good? Yeah? It's just not fair at this point. You haven't been doing this long enough. Are we good? All right. So do you want to do one more that's more normal before we do our mastery check? Just get our brains back in the gear of doing something normal? Okay, let's do that. So I'm just going to go down here, and I'm going to make up a problem. I got to write something out for myself, though. All right, this one's a fair problem. This is like the level at which I want you to be able to work. So I'm going to put this one up here. You're going to try it, and then we'll go over it. Then we'll take our mastery check, and we'll see where we're at for time. I don't remember, but I'll look it up afterwards. All right, so we still have plenty of time to do one problem in a quick mastery check. All right, so I'm going to give you like 2 minutes. Okay, try that problem for 2 minutes. I'm going to pause my recording, and I'll help me remember to start it again when we're ready to talk about it. Okay, so I take a look at the problem, and first I check to see, is there something that divides all four terms? Is there something for all four? Not this time. Okay, so since there, right, there's not something for all four together, so I'm not going to have big brackets in this problem. Okay, so that means I just go straight to making the whole two parentheses thing, but what do I have to be careful about when I do the second set of parentheses? Yeah, that's a minus. So I've got to make sure the minus goes inside, but it's not a times problem, which is what it looks like right now. So I need to sneak that plus sign in there, right? Because this is really something plus something. So then I can look first at the 8x cubed and the 12x squared. And what did you find that they have in common? 4x squared. Good. They had a 4x squared in common. So that's what's going to get factored out as the GCF. So then we need to figure out what goes in the parentheses. What has to multiply 4x squared to get us 8x cubed? 2x. And what has to multiply 4x squared to get us 12x squared? 3. So I'm going to have a 2x and a positive 3 inside those parentheses. We okay? Yeah? All right. So then we're going to take a look at the negative 14x and the negative 21. And right away, I see that my first term is negative, so I'm just going to put a negative there so I don't forget that I have to take a negative out. A negative what? 7. Do they have any variables in common? No, right? So the 21 doesn't have any variables. Okay, so what do I multiply negative 7 by to get negative 14x? Positive 2x. And what do I multiply negative 7 by to get negative 21? Positive 3. So I'm taking out a negative 7, and I'm leaving in the parentheses a 2x plus 3. All right, did this one work like it's supposed to? Yes. All right, this one worked like it's supposed to, right? 2x plus 3, 2x plus 3, it's the same binomial both times. So we factor out that 2x plus 3. And what binomial does it leave behind? 4x to the second minus 7. Are we good? Yeah? All right. So it looks to me, let's see, what time? We've got until 41, right? All right. So we should have time to do a teeny bit of notes after our mastery check, but we'll wait and see how it goes. We've got more than 15 minutes, so we're in good shape. So let's do our mastery check. 5 quick questions like always. Okay. When you get done, just give your brain a break for a minute. You're welcome to use a calculator, but just put your other papers away for me.